WLNS is here for you with 6 News at 5:30.
Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones. Siobhan is off tonight. Let's start the clock on our first 6 minutes of news. Our first story tonight, a man was shot in Kalamazoo County on Wednesday night, and police say it was an accident during target practice. The Michigan State Police say the man who was shot was doing work on a roof. They say the man, who appears to be a neighbor, was target practicing at the same time, and the man ended up being shot. He was taken to a hospital, but his injuries are not considered life-threatening. There haven't been any arrests, and troopers say the neighbor is cooperating. In Arizona, police now say the remains of a man discovered in 2009 by a road crew near the Hoover Dam are that of a Michigan native who was last seen back in 1995. The workers first found a bone and then some clothing and a sleeping bag. Detectives worked for years before finding a match in a genetic database to the missing William Hidemaki. He grew up in Trout Creek in western Upper Peninsula. He eventually left home and went hitchhiking out west. Investigators haven't determined a cause of death. Off the coast of Alaska, a man and his cat were lifted to safety when their sailboat was overwhelmed by stormy seas on Friday. The U.S. Coast Guard recently released this video showing the man and a Coast Guard diver holding a carrier containing his pet as they swam to safety. There were no reports of any injuries to the man or his beloved cat. That was a group of Japanese fans celebrating the moment the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series. They are actually Dodgers star fans from Shohei Ohtani's hometown in Japan. And many of them say they were really happy they got to see the ballplayer achieve his lifelong dream, and that everyone in Japan knows their town now. Meanwhile, in America, people in LA celebrated over the New York Yankees, gathered around watching a city bus that was lit on fire. Local media reports that a dozen people were arrested after that. Police say people were also breaking into stores. In eastern Spain, the death toll from the unprecedented flash flooding is now at least 158 people. An unknown number of people are still missing. Hundreds of cars were carried away by the flooding, many with people inside. Scientists say that because of 2 years of droughts, the ground was just too hard to absorb that large amount of recent rain, causing these flash floods. Back here in Michigan, election officials in Detroit are preparing for Tuesday and making sure those who count the ballots will be safe. Detroit City Clerk Janice Winfrey says the team is working 3-day shifts across 9 days, each totaling 750 people committed to this process. She says local and state police, the Attorney General's office, Huntington Place Security, and many more are coordinating this security plan.
We have established and maintained a comprehensive security plan throughout this week and the days moving forward. This plan will continue through election night to ensure the safety of our election workers and the integrity of the election process.
Winfrey says they've already counted 37,600 absentee ballots. At this rate, by Election Day, they predict that the only ballots that will be processed will be absentee ballots. In the Upper Peninsula, 2 Rock River Township clerks were removed from their election duties this week after they say they plan to hand count votes and not use a machine. Michigan law requires jurisdictions to use voting machines to tabulate ballots. There are about 1,200 people living in that township. A township deputy treasurer will take over election duties there. The Michigan Department of Corrections is announcing a new system for mail that they say will clamp down on contraband being sent to prisoners. By using a new mail management system, senders such as lawyers and court officials can get legal mail pre-approved, which is then checked by the jail by scanning a QR code. Regular mail is normally photocopied to prevent anything getting through, but with legal documents, the originals must be given to prisoners. General Motors and Pontiac will get about $8 million to create new ways to handle electric vehicle batteries that are at the end of their lives. It's part of a $45 million U.S. Department of Energy program that's focused on lowering the cost of recycling EV batteries. GM will use the money to create techniques that can be used by smaller entities such as car dealers and mechanic shops. Well, the celebration of the Day of the Dead will begin on Friday, which is why streets, stores, houses, and churches in Mexico are turning orange. Marigolds are referred to as the flower of the dead, and as the holiday grows closer, growers produce more than 5 million marigold plants. Their scent is believed to draw the souls back to their homes. The Day of the Dead festival traces its origins to pre-Hispanic Aztec belief that the dead return to Earth once a year to reunite with their loved ones. Traditions include preparing food and drinks for their departed and building vibrant altars in celebration of their lives. Wrapping up our first 6 minutes of news today, or should that be unwrapping, scientists at the Field Museum in Chicago scanned 26 ancient Egyptian mummies using CT technology. The remains were put through a mobile CT scanner that was parked just outside the museum. Now, thousands and thousands of x-rays for the individuals were then digitally stacked together to provide a 3D picture of what's inside. This is so cool. Scientists say these scans highlight each mummified person's individuality, revealing what their society thought was important enough for them to bring with them to their eternal afterlives. Our producer Andy finds the coolest stories, and that one, the Field Museum, they always have just incredible displays. Can you imagine?
I mean, just being there and going through that process has to be one thing, and then looking at the scans, completely different
because
one.
They have a very unique vision of the afterlife and what you take with you to transition over. So knowing that is just fascinating.
Yeah, we're likely going to have maybe a few mummies on the street tonight for trick-or-treating, and it looks like the forecast is going to be pretty nice as well.
Very good news for that. Thanks, Kendall. Coming up.